Always beware the scorn of a Tory who has been hard done by, because we've often talked about the fact that the Tory party is not as united as many would first initially look at the party would see. Now, why is this? Well, take Labour versus the Conservatives when it comes to arguing about something. Labour and certainly and a lot of Labour MPs are very, very happy to be out and open and even arguing their point out in the open. As far as they're concerned, it's fair game. They don't really matter. But also they're not in government. So there's not a lot for them to lose here in this case. But you look at the Conservative Party, and yes, there are disagreements. And very often over the years, even sort of throughout the years, we've seen some arguments bubbled up to the surface. Remember, after the Chesham and Amersham by-election, a lot of those did bubble to the surface around sort of the relaxation of planning regulations, which was believed by many Tories to be the reason they lost that by-election seat. One of the first key indications that Boris Johnson's, government may be about to lose the blue wall, as it was called down in the south. And even more so because Liz is sort of still pushing those cuts. She could be in very much trouble at the possible next general election. And we are now seeing the possibility that there is going to be a massive rebellion soon over Liz Truss. And what is very interesting is this could be very well be seen as a confidence vote in her premiership. So Liz Truss could very well easily become the shortest serving prime minister in our not only political history, but even modern political history. And after 3 consecutive prime ministers in such short a time, I think the general public will be out there baying for a general election. And well, even the Tories are worried that if that happens, it's a wipeout. Like I say, they were hoping that Liz Truss would come in, steady the ship, and they could maybe, hopefully, ride out maybe the next 2 years and maybe go into a next possible coalition government. They were hoping. They thought wrong. They thought very, very long concerning some of the comments that have been coming out today. So, before we go into some of those comments today, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and one afternoon link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. So, who has come out? Who has come out to swing their bat at Liz Truss? And it is, of course, no other than Michael Gove. Yes, the once bigwig, big political player in the Tory party still was not brought in to Truss's government. So he was shunned back to the backbenchers. But I think that was because he backed Kemi Badenoch during the leadership election. So I think Truss sees that as, or at least sees him as someone who is unreliable and wouldn't back him. So he's been on the backbenchers and he's already been stirring up trouble. Now, we thought Boris Johnson might be the one to stir up trouble. After all, this is a perfect time for him to do so, and he may still decide to do that. But for Michael Gove to be doing something like this, well, it is certainly very much big news. And of course, it is all about these tax cuts. So he had this to say about this. So he doesn't believe that currently Truss will be deposed, but she needs to change policy. He said she will be prime minister next year, but as Liz Truss indicated, there needs to be a course correction. I think that reality bites, and I think that one of those things that Liz has indicated is that the additional work that the government requires to do in order to show how this package is going to be paid for, this so-called medium-term fiscal planning or strategy that will have to be brought forward. And this is what a lot of these other people have been seeing on this, that you can't have this massive unfunded tax cuts and then say, we're not going to tell you how you're going to pay for it. Because we know very soon that that Kurzi Katang is going to be having another autumn budget very soon. Where's the plan for growth? Where is all this stuff? You're just expecting to pay for it by tax cuts. And as we've said, if you do that, the government has to borrow more. You can't just go to government departments and say, we want efficiency savings, because that's not going to pay for it. But he had more to say. So this was when he was on Sky News. He said this: there are two major things that are problematic with the fiscal event, he argued. The first was the sheer risk of using borrowed money to fund tax cuts. This is not conservative. The second is the decision to cut the 45 pence rate. Indeed, at the same time, to change the law on how bankers are paid in the City of London. Ultimately, at a time when people are suffering, when you have an additional billions of pounds in play, to have practical decisions, the headline tax move, cutting tax for the wealthiest, that is a display of the wrong values. And he was not the only one to bring this up, because Jake Berry, as we've talked about before, Jake Berry, the head of the Northern Research Group, the head of those Red Wall MPs, very much so, came out and said this on Twitter. Hang on, where? So he's come out and said that the votes for this fiscal budget would be treated as a vote of confidence, meaning that any Tory who opposed them would lose the whip. So that was Jake Berry on this. So that is how important this vote is being seen. But then Julian Smith then tweeted out that this was the first job of an MP to act in the interest of their constituents and in the national interest. We cannot clap for carers 1 month and cut tax for millionaires months later. Wow. Just, and it's not that. There is a full-scale rebellion in the works. Some Tory MPs have been told to say that Liz Truss is completely disconnected from reality and is living in a fool's paradise. This is not the talk you should be expecting to hear from someone who has just taken the top job. But as we said, during the Tory leadership contest, Liz Truss was not the choice of candidate that the Tory Westminster Party, that's all the MPs, wanted. They wanted Rishi Sunak very, very clearly. They wanted Rishi Sunak, but the problem, the disconnect, became that the party wanted Liz Truss, because they are still buying up all this nonsense that Liz Truss was feeding them about popularity, connecting it with Brexit. And the thing was with Rishi Sunak, with why he lost, was because, he told them the truth. It's not what they wanted to hear. But Liz Truss told, those Conservative voters what they wanted to hear. And unfortunately, as we've talked about for the past couple of days, when reality, or when these ideas meet reality always wins. And in this case, the markets have certainly had their weigh in on this. And we are going to be seeing, I think, in the certainly coming weeks, a lot more talk about this fiscal budget, this mini fiscal planning, the medium short-term fiscal planning. We're going to be seeing a lot of stuff, I think, very, very quickly, because she's going to be absolutely desperate to try and reshore up her position. And already, when you've got so much discontent with Tory MPs openly saying we are going to have a rebellion, and this vote on a mini budget being treated as a vote of confidence, Liz Truss has gone from the shortest honeymoon period probably ever in a political career to Tory MPs now openly talking to get rid of her. It's unbelievable. But that's unfortunately where the current Conservative Party is. And it's unbelievable to think that she would maybe not even make it till Christmas. Maybe not even make till it make it to the end of October. We generally don't know at this rate, but we'll have to see how things go. But don't worry, we'll be keeping an eye on this. But as always, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.